So we're still in this Venus retrograde. We're in the retrograde until middle of next month. And I've really been reflecting a lot on my past relationship and, just the highs and the lows and what made it fall apart. And, there's so much attached to it because, it was a marriage. I had a son with him. I've been with him for half of my life. So it's a huge deal. And it's a complete life shift for me. My life will never be the same. So I've been thinking about it a lot and why everything fell apart. And I can honestly say it's all about compatibility. It's really important that you're compatible with your partners. If you were to know us as a couple throughout the span of our relationship, you would probably say, oh, you guys are compatible. How are you guys not compatible? And you'd be right. Yeah, we were compatible. We were compatible for a lot of our relationship. When I was a people pleaser, when my life revolved around him, when I put all of my happiness on him because I put love on the pedestal of pedestals, when I was wanting to get validation from the people that I loved, when I didn't have my own identity, that was when we were compatible because I lived his life. Both of us depended on each other for happiness. It wasn't until I started pouring into myself, doing the things that sparked my interests and sparked my passions, and just figuring myself out and discovering things and learning things and expanding my mind and traveling and experiencing. That's when the shift in our relationship started. You need someone who's going to emotionally support you. You need someone who is going to support your growth, your healing. You need someone that shares your values, or at least, has common values where you can actually work together, somehow make it work. You need someone that you can be yourself with, fully comfortable to show the raw sides of you. And vice versa, someone that can accept you as a flawed person because no one is perfect and support your growth, your healing, and someone that you can share joy with, whether it's things in common or whether it's something that you like that they can learn from you, grow from you, and it's something that they like and give them that and share that experience with them. It's really about balancing each other. No relationship is going to be perfect. After that honeymoon phase is over, that's when the work begins. You have to make an effort to put time towards each other, and that's how you can keep that romance alive. Because whether I find somebody or not, I would rather be by myself than be with someone who's gonna emotionally neglect me, be someone that I can't be myself with, that I can't share the deepest parts of me, someone who throws my flaws in my face, someone who doesn't support my growth and doesn't want to grow themselves, doesn't want to heal themselves, is not only not supporting my healing journey, but is contributing to my wounds. I don't want any of that, I'd rather just love myself. Honestly, I'd rather just do things that make me happy, and at least I could be emotionally supported by myself if someone doesn't come along. That is honestly how I feel. If you think that I'm being high maintenance, I don't think I'm being high maintenance. I think I'm valuing myself. I've lived my life for so long not valuing myself. And I'm at a point where, I know who the hell I am. I know what the hell I want. So just for fun, I'll be the case study. Right off the bat, when you think about communication is everything in a relationship. Not only is it everything, when it comes to my chart, it is a huge theme in my chart. There's so many communication pointers in my chart. One, Scorpio is on my third house cusp. Scorpio being the sign of, wanting to go in deeper, wanting those deeper truths, wanting to get into things that people wouldn't necessarily want to get into and get their hands dirty. Scorpio is the great transformer. And it being in the house of communication, I naturally have this need to talk about the mysteries of life, discuss, things that make people uncomfortable, things that are taboo, things that are more intense, have really intimate conversations, I remember being in my relationship and, wanting to dig in deep into my ex's life and his past relationships and, just kind of the more intimate things that he was into. And for me, like, I am curious about all of that stuff. I want to talk about it. And I just want to know, where someone is coming from, why they are the way that they are, why they like the things that they like. And I just felt like there are so many times where I was trying to dig in deep and, there was a wall up and I couldn't get in there. And I just always had that natural curiosity of wanting to know more. I couldn't dig in deeper. And so I kind of shut that door for me, and I didn't realize that was subconsciously a part of me until I fully realized it by my experiences and by my other interactions with people where I could talk to people about things like that, and and it really sparking my curiosity and expanding me. It made me realize when I was getting that from other people but not from my husband, what it was that was lacking. But I also have my Mercury is conjunct my ascendant. For those of you that don't know, the ascendant is what you portray to the outside world. It is the lessons that you need to learn, and it's how people perceive you. It's your physical body. And with Mercury, intellect, communication, you can say that's a big part, a big role in how others see you. And so again, communication is a big theme for me. So in relationships, not only is it vital for people in general, but it is vital for me. I need to learn, I need to expand from someone, and vice versa. I need that back and forth. I need that banter. So, and I wasn't getting that. No disrespect to him, because like I said, we're all different. We're all individuals. And the things that he liked, the things that he liked to talk about were not things that I like to talk about, and it was just awkward. It was really awkward, and it was something that it was really hard to work on. But I think we could have worked it out, but there's got to be effort. There wasn't any back and forth. It was really like, no. That's what it felt like. I was doing all the talking and he was doing all the listening, or either he was listening or was going through one ear and not the other, probably the latter. But another example, I have the sign of Aries on my descendant, and the descendant is the cusp of your 7th house, and it's your relationship point. So you can think of, your deepest friendships. You could think of marriage or partnership, business partnerships, even open enemies. Like you could think of like an ex divorcee. Well, I have Aries, and Aries, when you think about Aries is the leader. Aries is the fighter. Aries is ruled by Mars, and so Aries are strong and courageous, and they go after what it is that they want. They're decisive, they're blunt. And so when you think of your descendant, which is opposite of your ascendant, your ascendant is who you are, who you naturally are, and what you portray to the world. Your descendant is what you need to learn. So it's always going to be the opposite sign. Libra, my ascendant; Aries, my descendant. And so I need to learn how to be strong. I need to learn how to be courageous. I need to learn how to be a leader and have all of those qualities and be able to embrace those qualities in my relationship. Well, in my relationship, I did not have any of those qualities. Like at least like 2/3 of that relationship, I did not have any of those qualities. And when I started coming into my own and I was building strength, my ex did not like that. He expected me to know what it is he wanted without him telling me. And when you think about Aries are direct. They're going to tell you like it is. Maybe it's going to be a little sharp. Maybe it's going to be a little rough around the edges, but they will tell you the truth. They will tell you what they want and what they expect. They're not waiting for you to guess. They're not waiting for you to mind read them. Honest, direct communication. He didn't like that. And, he didn't like the strength. And one thing I just want to clarify, when I tell you that I have Aries on my descendant and I have to learn these qualities, it's for good reason. Because don't think about the astrology for now, but in my life, the things that I have gone through, growing up, being a teenager especially, my teenage years were the worst years of my life because I was silenced, I was bullied, I was abused, I was manipulated, and I didn't know how to defend myself. I did not have any courage for myself. I never stood up for myself, and I let things happen to me. I let some horrible things happen to me without saying a word, without telling anybody. And coming from a life where I didn't know how to defend myself, where I let people step all over me, where I let people make my own decisions and tell me how to live my life, to now, coming into my own and knowing who I am, I'll be damned if anyone tells me not to have strength, to back down, to be quiet, and to expect that I understand what they're thinking, because I'm not a mind reader, I'm an energy reader. Yeah, someone trying to make me back down when I've never felt more empowered in my life, and someone wanting to take that away from me, that was honestly the last straw. And so those are only a few examples, but I do think that a lot of it, there's a lot of things that we need in relationships, and I rattled some off, but there's so much more. But you also have to consider, what it is that you want in life, and just fading out all the background noise, fading out what people's opinions are, whoever they may be, fading it all out and really getting in touch with who you are and what it is that you want in life. And does your relationship either match that, or can they work with that? Compatibility is everything. And another thing I wanted to mention, I think a lot of people, they want to go into a relationship without really knowing who they are and what they want. And, say, for example, you want to go to an astrologer and get a synastry reading, which, for those that don't know, it's basically putting two different charts together. So say you and someone that, you're pursuing or you're in a relationship with, putting those two charts together and seeing how planets interact with each other. You can do that. I don't honestly agree with doing that if you've never had a chart reading or you're just not fully aware of who you are. Astrology is an amazing tool for self-awareness, being aware of what you want, what your needs are, what your gifts, what your talents, where you need to grow. And whether you have that as a tool or you know it internally, you know who you are and you know what it is that you need in a relationship. That's the foundation to attract the relationship you want or find the relationship that you want. Because they're just going to tell you the compatibility, but it is not going to encompass who you are and your growth in life and your wounds and the healing that needs to happen. There's not enough time. There is not enough time. It's hard to, get a lot in an hour, hour and a half reading, let alone, a synastry where you're looking at two people's charts and comparing them. There's a lot to compare. So yeah, that's just something that I wanted to put out there. Know who you are, know what you need. Self-love is everything. Give back to yourself. And make sure that that partner supports that, supports those little things that people don't think about when they go into a relationship. There's so much more than that. There's so much more than happily ever after. And trust me, I know, coming out of a relationship that was half of my life long. Yeah, just wanted to share. But for any of you that want to get a deep dive on your birth chart, who you are, what it is that you need in life, and what it is that you need in your relationships, there's more information on how to book reading down below. But peace and self-love.